Hi everyone, and welcome to lesson 22, which is the last lesson of the school year. Congratulations for making it this far. If your teacher is Ms. Boatwright, Ms. Reynolds, Mr. McCrae, Mr. Still, Mr. Strickland, or Mr. Yates, you are in the right place. And of course, I always want to remind you that you can stop the video at any time. You can rewind it, you can fast forward it. When you get to the end, you will get our joke of the day. Today's learning target is I can solve equations in various forms. It is the second week of our review on equations, and we just want to make sure that you go into the summer knowing how to solve equations, because that is going to come in very handy next year. Okay. Our first series of equations is solving two-step equations. Now, I want to encourage you, if you know how to solve these equations, numbers 1 and number 2, stop the video now and go ahead and solve them. You should be able to do so because it is all review. Did you stop the video? I hope you did. Let's take a look at 1. It says 3x minus 7 equals 8. I'm going to put my little line through the equal sign, which indicates whatever I do to one side of that line, I have to do the other. Now, our object is to get our letters on one side and our numbers on the other, and then reduce down till I get one letter equals one number. So, on the left-hand side, you can see I have a minus 7 in addition to the letter, so I do the opposite of minus 7, which is, if you said plus 7, you are so correct. What that gives me then is 3x equals 15. 8 plus 7 is 15. Oh my goodness, it's not a very attractive 15, is it? Then, although I got all my letters on one side and my numbers on the other, I do not want to know what 3x equals. I want to know what 1x equals, which is why we always divide by the number in front of x, because anything divided by itself is 1. X equals 5 is our answer. Did you get that one right? I hope you did. How about the next one? We have negative 6x plus 4 equals 28. So I want to get rid of that plus 4. So I do the opposite of plus 4. I go minus 8. And that goes away, right? And I get negative 6x equals 28 minus 4 is 24. Now, again, I'm in a good shape. I got all my letters on one side, all my numbers on the other, and my last step is to divide by the number in front of the variable or the letter, which is negative 6. Remember, the sign that's in front of the number always goes with the number. Negative 6 divided by negative 6 is 1, or 1x. You don't have to write that 1, but you can. And 24 divided by negative 6 is a positive divided by a negative is? It is a negative, so it's negative 4. X equals negative 4. All right, like terms. Here we go. Our first one, we have negative 8x plus 3 equals 2x minus 7. So again, I'm trying to get my letters on one side, my numbers on the other. I'm going to keep my letters over here on the left. So my x's are going to go there. And so that means I have to get rid of that 3. This goes away. 3 minus 3 is 0. I have negative 8x equals 2x minus 10. Oh my goodness. It's negative 8x equals 2x minus 10. So now I subtract 2x from each side, and I get negative 8 minus 2 is negative 10x equals negative 10. When I divide by the number in front of the variable, I get 1x, or x equals 1. Did you get that one? I hope so. All right, let's take a look at our last one. It tells me 5x plus 14 minus 2x equals 35. Well, I have to combine my x's. You'll see I've got a 5x and a negative 2x there because that negative sign goes with the 2. It's in front of it. 5 minus 2, anybody? I think you all know that one is 3x plus 14 equals 35. Now, I have to get rid of this 14, right? I got letters and numbers over there. I just want letters, so I do the opposite of plus 14, minus 14. And I get 3x equals 21. Now I got all my letters on one side, I have all my numbers on the other, and my last step is just to divide by the number in front of the letter. Because anything divided by itself equals 1, and that's what we want to know, what 1x equals. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Hopefully you got all 4 of those without my instruction. If you were even close, you just messed up something like a negative sign, pat yourself on the back. You're doing great. All right, solving equations with an x squared. This is also a review from last week. I'm going to go ahead and do this first one. If you think you can do it, and I'm pretty sure you can, stop the video, write down the problem, solve it for x, and do 6, 7, and 8 and solve them for x if you can. And then you can check my work to see if I got it right. All right. Number 5. It says x squared plus 15 equals 40. Well, again, my first object is to get all my numbers on one side and all my letters on the other. So if I got rid of that 15, I would have just letters on the left-hand side. The opposite of plus 15, minus 15. Bring this down. X squared equals 40 minus 15 is 25. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky, but it's true, perfectly legal, to take the square root of each side. Square root of x squared is x. What is the square root of 25? If you said 5, you're right, but you're only half right. Remember, negative 5 times negative 5 is also 25, so we would write plus or minus 5. That is our answer. Did you get that one right? If you got just positive 5, I would count it as right. You know what you're doing. Just got to remember the negative next time. All right, how about this number 6? Negative 6x squared plus 29 equals 5. I'm going to put in a little line to divide at the equal sign. Well, the first thing I want to do is move this positive 29 out of there. So the opposite of plus 29, minus 29. And I bring this down, so I have negative 6x squared equals 5 minus 29 is negative 24. Now, before I do any square rooting, I got to make sure I get rid of this number in front, which is negative 6. So I divide both sides by negative 6. That gives me x squared equals negative 24 divided by negative 6 is positive 4. And now we do that tricky thing that doesn't seem like it should be legal, but it is, to get the square root of each side. The square root of x squared is always x. And the square root of 4, anybody know what that one is? Plus or minus 2. Because negative 2 times negative 2 is also positive 4. All right, number 7 and number 8 are solving with distributing. Now, if you haven't done these yet, why don't you stop the video, write them down on a piece of paper, and try and solve them before I do it, and you can check my work to see if I did it right. Did you stop the video? I hope you did. For number 7, I've got 3 times x plus 4 equals 21. So before I do anything, I have to distribute out the 3. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 4 is 12. And it equals 21. And now we just solve it like we would our standard equations. I got 3x plus 12 on one side, so I want to have just letters there. So I do the opposite of plus 12, minus 12. And as long as I do it to both sides of the equal sign, it's perfectly legal. This goes away. I bring this down, and I get 3x equals 21 minus 12. Anybody? Yes, it's 9. Now I got all my letters on one side and all my numbers on the other. Looking good, but I want to know what 1x equals, not what 3x. So I divide each side by the number in front of x, which is 3, and I get x equals 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Make sense? Hope so. How about this next one? We have two distribution problems. It says 5 times x minus 1 equals negative 2 times x minus 8. So again, we have to distribute out these expressions before we solve or even start to solve. So 5 times x. Yes, if you said 5x, you are right. 5 times negative 1. Remember, the negative sign goes with the number it's in front of, so it would be negative 5. Negative 2 times x. Negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 8. What's a negative times a negative? I know you know it's a positive. So now I have 5x minus 5 equals negative 2x plus 16. Here's my little line. Let's add 5 to start off with here. Plus 5, plus 5. Remember, it's always numbers to numbers and letters to letters. You never mix those two things up. I bring down my 5x, and I get 5x equals negative 2x. 16 plus 5 is 21. Now I have to get rid of this negative 2x. The opposite of negative 2x? If you said plus 2x, you are so right. So I add 2x. 5x plus 2x is, and this goes away, and it leaves just the 21 to bring down. 7x equals 21. We're in good shape again. We got all our letters on one side and our numbers on the other, but we want to know what 1x equals. That's 7x, so we divide both sides by 7. Because 7 divided by 7 equals 1. 21 divided by 7 equals 3. Did I do my work right? Did it check out according to your solutions? I hope so. Let me know if it didn't. Okay. Now we have distribution and an x squared term. Let's take a look at 9. It says x plus 3 times x plus 1 equals 2 times 2x plus 14. And we have to distribute out all that stuff before we start to solve. So, here we go. X times x and also x times 1. And then 3 times x and 3 times 1. So, x times x is x squared. X times 1 is plus 1x. 3 times x is plus 3x. 3 times 1 is plus 3. And it equals 2 times 2x and 2 times 14. 2 times 2x is 4x, and 2 times 14 is 28. So we've did our distribution, but remember, we always have to combine our like terms. I've got a 1x and a 3x here, so to sum that all up, it would be x squared, I'm just bringing that down, plus 4x, that's 1 plus 3, right? Plus 3 equals 4x plus 28. So I got two 4x's there. So you know what I'm going to do? First of all, to make this a little simpler to look at, I'm going to go minus 4x minus 4x. that goes away, that goes away. And what I get is x squared plus 3 equals 28. Now, I got to get rid of this 3. What's the opposite of positive 3? If you said negative 3, you are so right. This goes away. I bring down my x squared. 28 minus 3 is 25. Now what do I do? If you said square root both sides, you are today's winner. Here we go. I square root this side, and I square root that side. The square root of x squared is x. The square root of 25 is what? If you said plus or minus 5, you're absolutely right. All right, let's take a look at number 10. It says x minus 4 times x plus 3 equals x plus 2 times x plus 1. And so we have to multiply all this out. We take our x and we multiply it times the first term and the second expression and the second term. And then we take our negative 4, because the negative sign goes with that 4, and multiply them by both. Let's see, what do we get? X times x is x squared. Sorry, that's not a very pretty x squared. X squared. X times 3 is plus 3x. Negative 4 times x is minus 4x. And negative 4 times 3 is minus 12. Now, it equals whatever x times x and x times negative 1, and then 2 times x and 2 times negative 1. X times x, we know, equals x squared. X times negative 1 is minus 1x. 2 times x would be 2x. And 2 times negative 1 would be minus 2. Remember what I said about combining like terms? I have plus 3x and minus 4x up here, so to simplify that, it would be x squared minus x, because that's what 3 minus 4 equals, minus 12 equals x squared. Negative x plus 2x is just plus 1x, right? Minus 2. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go minus x squared minus x squared. And what that does is it makes life a lot simpler. That goes away and that goes away. And what I have is negative x minus 12 equals x minus 2. So I'm going to add 12 plus 12 plus 12. And I get negative x equals x plus 10. Negative 2 plus 12 is 10. Negative 2 plus 12 is a fancy way of saying what is 12 minus 2. So now I have to get rid of this x. The opposite of positive x is negative x. And what I end up with is negative 2x equals 10. If I divide both sides by negative 2, what I get is x equals negative 5. Is that what you got? I hope so. All right, fractions. Who likes fractions? Oh my goodness. I understand completely. Nobody really, right? All right, let's take a look at this first one. If you think you can solve these, and I think you probably can, go ahead and stop the video right now and try and do 11 and 12. Check your answers against what I come up with, and then do 13 and 14. 13 and 14 are going to be proportions. So, here we go. Here's the first one, 11. Stop the video now if you haven't already, and see if you get an answer for x. My first problem is 1/3 of x plus 6 equals 12. So, here's my line indicating the equal sign. If I get rid of that 6, I have to do the opposite of positive 6, which is minus 6. what I end up with is 1 over 3x equals negative 4. Let me do it down here a little further. 1 over 3x equals negative 4. Now, if you recall, the way I make that 1/3 whole is I multiply it by the denominator, the number on the bottom, which is 3. So this side I'm going to multiply by 3, which means over here on the other side I'm going to multiply by 3 too. 1/3 times 3 is 1x. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Hopefully that's what you came up with. Let's try this number 12 here now. It says 3 over 4x, or 3/4 x minus 2 equals x. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this minus 2. The opposite of minus 2 is plus 2. And what I come up with, because this goes away, is 3 over 4x equals x plus 2. Now I have to get rid of this x. The opposite of positive x is negative x. 3/4 x, or 3 over 4x minus x, gives me negative 1/4 x, and that equals 2. And now we multiply by the denominator, which is 4. We're going to make it a negative 4 because we want to have a positive x. So this side by negative 4 is multiplied, and this side by negative 4 is also multiplied. Negative 4 times negative 1/4 is 1x. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Did you get that? I hope so. All right, proportions. If you haven't done 13 and 14 yet, see if you remember how to do proportions. Remember cross multiplication and then solve. All right. Stop it now, see if you can figure it out, and then check your answers against what I come up with. Number 13 says 2x over 3 equals 8 over 4. Solving proportions, we cross multiply. So I make it 2x times 4, and then I make it 3 times 8. What I come up with is 2x times 4 would be 8x. 3 times 8 is 24. So I have 8x equals 24. I'm going to rewrite it. It was a little unclear up there. Now, to solve this, I divide both sides by the number in front of x, which is 8. And I get x equals 3. Is that what you got? I hope so. Let us try the next one. This one's a little trickier. It has what are going to end up being distribution problems for us, because this says I have to multiply 3 times x minus 4, and then this says I have to multiply 5 times x plus 2. So it would be 5. I'm going to go down a little bit further here. 5. I'm still going to go further down. 5 times x plus 2, and it equals 3 times x minus 4. And if you recall, I have to distribute the 5 to the x and the 5 to the 2, and then on the other side of the equal sign, I have the 3 to the x and the 3 to the negative 4. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 2 is 10. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 4 is minus 12. All right, well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 10. To get rid of this 10 and bring it over here to the other side. Remember, there's our line. And what I end up with is 5x equals 3x minus 22. Now this 3x has to go, so I go minus 3x, and I get 2x equals, since this goes away, negative 22. Last step, divide by the number in front of the letter, in this case 2, x equals negative 11. Voila! Did you get that one? I hope you did. In summary, to solve an equation, we need to isolate the variable. Sorry, that's supposed to be an E. Doesn't look like one, does it? We need to do the what operation so that things cancel. We need to do the opposite. So, if it's a positive 4, we subtract 4. If it's a negative, those sorts of things. What's next? There are no new assignments for this week, so finish up anything you have left over from week 7 or previous weeks. Take the final equations quiz. It's required this week. And before we get to our great joke of the day, I know I speak for all your teachers when I say how proud that I am of you and how you worked through this time while we were at home. This is an unknown and unforeseen complication, and you, those of you who have persevered through it, have shown what people of character you are. I want to thank you, and I want to say that I'm proud of you, and I know that your teachers are proud of you too. Hang in there, stay strong, keep on keeping on. Now, today's joke of the day is brought to you from a time when students attended class in school. And one day, Jimmy got home early from school, and his mom asked, "Why are you home so early?" And he answered, "Because I was the only one that answered a question in my class." And his mom said, "Wow, my son is a genius. What was the question?" And Jimmy replied, The question was, who threw the trash can at the principal's head?" That's all for today. Have a great summer. We'll see you in the fall.